This may amuse you, but I want to talk about the Crickers and the Creakers of Roaring Spring. Are you a Cricker or a Creaker, or both? Uh, you see, there's a word. The word is either crick or creek, spoken. Whenever it's spelled in standard English, it's spelled Creek. In our talk writing, my spelling system, I would either spell it Krik, that's crick, or Kryk, that's creek. Uh, and in Roaring Spring, I've made it a bit of a study to see which way people pronounce it. Now, I studied linguistics, set off to possibly be a linguistics major when I was at Harvard, but I realized that's too hard a science for me. So I know some technical terms about it. When there's a difference in pronunciation or word use that could be put on a map, it's called an isogloss. Like an isobar is a difference in barometric pressure, isogloss. Uh, and and there probably is some kind of an isogloss related to that word, but Roaring Spring would be way too complicated because it's quite a mix. And another thing to point out is that there's something usually called a prestige dialect, maybe always, a prestige dialect. If you speak the prestige dialect, you sound smarter, better educated, probably richer. And as linguists will point out, there's nothing any better linguistically about a prestige dialect than a more simple one. Uh, it, it, the most primitive of languages are just as complicated as the most prestigious, but it's a factor there. And the prestige dialect would have people say creek, I'm quite sure. And I find myself, when I'm reading signs, in my head I'll pronounce it creek, but it doesn't feel right. It's a crick. So I'm kind of split. That isogloss would go right through me, I guess. Now, Roaring Spring is interesting because there's cricks all around it. I mean, there's Plum Creek, there's Halter Creek, and there's Cabbage Creek. They all go right through Roaring Spring. But Morrison's Cove in general also has Piney Creek, uh, uh, Spruce Creek, no, I don't know about Spruce Creek, Clover Creek, Yellow Creek, Hickory Bottom Creek, uh, Potter Creek, maybe I said that, and Beaver Creek. All of those, maybe I'm missing some, are in Morrison's Cove. And so the word shows up on road signs and all over the place. So which way do you say it? And I find a lot of springers, roaring springers, when I ask them that, they're not sure. And they have to almost put it into context because it depends who they're talking to and how natural they're feeling. Uh, I mean, it's my own little revolution, I think, to pronounce it as crick. That just feels right to me. I feel weird when I say creek. But I'm going to try to adjust that. So when I'm among people who speak the prestige dialect and maybe even put down the other dialects, I'll have it their way and pronounce it as creek. I'll probably post about this. But when I write about it, it's a little bit more confusing because I have to use my spelling system. Oh, and one other thing I was going to say. Roaring Spring has a population of largely descended from mill workers because the paper mill was such a huge thing. And then the blank book factory. They were mill workers, so many of them. And mill workers you would not expect to speak the prestige dialect. But in Roaring Spring, there's a royalty, I think of it. I mean, there are a lot of people who are descended from the founders of the town and these mill owners that went off to college and were well educated. So or yeah, I'll say well educated, educated in an academic way. So you've got quite a mix there. Well, I've got no solution to this, but I guess one other thing I should tell you is that while at Harvard, I also studied anthropology, looking into maybe majoring in that. And I think an anthropologist could have a field day studying the population of Roaring Spring. Bye for now. I'm not quite done. I'm back. I wanted to make one other comment. There's a song, a very famous song about this issue, sung by Fred Astaire and somebody else, I think. And the words, I think the name of the song is Let's Call the Whole Thing Off. The words for part of it go, you say tomato, I say tomato, let's call the whole thing off. You say potato, I say potato, let's call the whole thing off. And there's a series of words that they put in there like that. So you say krik, I say kryk, let's call the whole thing off. Bye for now.